Hello collectors, it's Steven here bringing you a review of the newest SH Figuarts Pokemon figure, the Trainer Nappa. This Bandai Premium Web Shop exclusive of a fan favorite has us wishing for a great figure, but with recent quality drops across the SH Figuarts and the SH Monster Arts line and other lines from Bandai, woo, fans are wondering if Vegeta's buddy is worth it, especially at $75 with a price that'll only go up if he sells out everywhere. Is this figure a smash hit or is it a major dud? Well, let's take a look to see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. One thing Bandai's been really bad with lately, namely with the Scouter Vegeta and the Super Saiyan 3 Goku renewals, would be the finer details like panel lining, shading, too much of a wash here and there. Well, here you go. Not really here. Maybe it's a bit too heavy in some areas for the skin, but the shading for Nappa is dope, fam. You guys like that, right? That's the best way to describe it. Not intricate or swell? Yeah. Anyway, though admittedly the armor could be a bit better. Actually, in some areas, depending on the figure, it could be a lot better. Nappa only gets away with it because he has a darker armor scheme, so with or without the panel lining, I really don't think that it would matter because chances are, depending on the lighting, it really wouldn't be noticeable. However, where Nappa really does suffer would be the head. Yes, for the most part on mine, it's fine. I actually really don't have many major issues, but I have seen some with incomplete mustaches, and all of the heads are glossy. Another issue that varies from figure to figure would be the eyes, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. You can kind of see it a bit now, but we'll look at that more in depth in the accessory section because I have a better example there. Now, some other reviewers made it look absurd, the glossiness, but in hand, well, you can just pretend that he oils up his head pretty well. And I mean, aside from that, what you're seeing on screen is pretty much what you're getting. Nappa has some great shading on his well-defined, really awesomely sculpted muscles. Some spots, maybe a bit too much for some, with some relatively solid paint apps. Some initial concerns arose from the out-of-the-box review from a prototype or a production sample, whichever they had, with a lot of slop. But here, yeah, there are issues, but not necessarily as bad. There is indeed some white paint slop, especially on the gauntlets, and it can be aggravating for some, but yeah. Generally speaking, by today's standards, Nappa doesn't look too shabby. Okay, so Nappa's articulation. We got some good stuff here. We also have some very questionable stuff that you have to kind of wonder exactly what current day Bandai was thinking with some of the engineering. It makes me think, maybe Nappa's been on the drawing board for quite some time. I mean, this Nappa in specific. So what do we got? The head is on a ball joint. It's actually on a barbell-style ball joint, double access. So we have a ball joint up in here in the head, and then we have one that sits down further in the neck. So you can get some pretty decent movement out of just Nappa's head alone. That's good. And then the neck, obviously, where it sits in on the shoulders, is on a ball joint too. So we can get a lot of crazy movement out of Nappa, yeah? That's very cool. Armor. The shoulder pads are on hinges. They move up and down. Be careful. The hinges are very small. I've already seen a couple reports of breakage, which is not very good. And then here's where we get to the very, very complicated issue of Nappa and the articulation. So, for most Dragon Ball Z Figuarts, let's take Awakening Goku here for an example. You have the actual hinge here for the shoulder that is actually sculpted into the shoulder, right? So you can actually see the hinge that's there that allows you to move the arm up and down like that. For Nappa, that isn't the case at all. What is the case, however, is the hinge is plugged in and it uses the actual shoulder sculpt as sort of like a plastic sleeve to hide the joint. So the hinge plugs in here. So, yeah. So effectively, that's about as far up as Nappa can raise his arm. Unless you're creative and you know how to work the joint, then you can get him to raise it up about that far. Of course, you can spin the arm around, but then you have to watch out for the shoulder armor, and then you can do that. But yeah, you have to be very, very careful there. Obviously, we get the ball joint movement there that allows you to do this, that, and the other. You get a little bit of a butterfly joint to move the arm forward, but unfortunately this sharp point of the armor prevents you from doing anything more than that. But yeah, very awkward movement in the shoulders, not very good. Very poorly engineered. It definitely feels archaic. Definitely tips Bandai's hand to say that this was something that was engineered quite some time ago that they're reusing, because it seems very, very outdated. But anyway, yeah, that's the difficult, interesting choice for Nappa's shoulders. But anyway, we do have the traditional bicep swivel. That is actually a very clean cut for Nappa because he's so bulky. Very, very bulky dude. We do have double hinge elbows, as you would expect out of an SH Figuarts. Then for the wrist, we do have the standard SH Figuarts style swivel hinge combo, where that's the actual wrist joint in and of itself. Hinges one way, then we could swivel that around, and then the hands attach on a ball joint, so we get a little bit more rocking movement there, and it's much more noticeable on Nappa than it would be on other figures, which is good to see. So for Nappa, we do have an ab crunch, which is phenomenal. Great range of movement, much better than Vegeta's. Very far back, about that far down, and then we have a waist joint, which is also a little bit on a ball joint, so we can really rock Nappa from side to side. Yeah, look how nice that is. Spin him all the way around. Now, for the skirt portion of the armor, or the kilt, I'm sorry. These three parts are on hinges, but they're very flimsy. Look at that. See, that's not very good. I've already seen reports of those breaking, so do be careful with Nappa. I'm not sure if it's one of those things where they're like little plugs that go in to holes on this part here, or if there is an actual like pull that runs in between. So if it breaks, I'm going to say it's done for. Hips. Further evidence this is an older figure. We have the pull down style instead of the swivel or swivel hinge for the newer style hips. So old school fans of Figuarts, congrats. You know what you're getting here. So pull down hips. Nappa can spread his legs out about that far. We do have ball joints. And then we have swivels. So that's good. Double hinge knees. We have ball joints for the ankles. We can get some serious ankle rockers out of this guy. And then toe hinges, but because of the design of his feet, they're very difficult to move. But trust me, you can get them to move up about that far, not down at all. So overall, Nappa's articulation is pretty cool. I mean, you can get a lot of fun poses out of this guy, right? And because he's so big, balancing really isn't an issue at all. I mean, look at that. That's very easy. Get out of there, Goku. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Nappa, if you are creative with your posing, very, very fun figure, but those shoulders are very archaic, and there's no reason why they should be designed that way when we've come so much further in the year 2016 plus one. But... And now it's time for the accessories, and for Nappa, we get the bare minimum with an effect part. We get 3 different heads, 2 more sets of hands with 1 come hither hand for the right arm, and 1 Tamashii Stage Act 4 base and support arm with a blast effect. Woo! So, let's get down to the brass tacks. Aside from the fists, we get chopping hands, and we get karate hands or grappling hands, whatever these might be, and then this hand here to make things go boom. Most iconically, I would say from Dragon Ball GT. No true splayed hands here, but you know what? We can make do, especially if you're creative. You swap these hands out just like all the other Figuarts, but since he has rather large hands, they're much easier to grab and pull off than some of the other figures. Now the heads, and yeah, remember the issue with the eyes? Yeah, we're going to look a little closer here. Aside from the base head, we get an angry head, a screaming head, and the default head, but this time with a scouter. Now, the issue here is that the white paints for the eyes actually bleed over beyond the black outline on the majority of the heads, which is really weird. It's not a super major issue at a distance, but it's one of those things where after someone points this out, you can never look at him the same way again. It's not necessarily something that's going to jump out and grab you, but if you look at Nappa for long enough, you're gonna think that something's off, and that is exactly it. You swap out the heads by gripping them, pulling them, and popping a new one on. But be careful because the ball joint is a long one and you don't want to snap that bar that connects the 2 ball joints together. And last up for the accessories, we get the super memorable meteor-like blast shot that Nappa fired. Yeah, you know, not a mouth cannon, not a blast up from the ground. Yeah, no, this thing. Yeah, mine's got a QC issue on it with that mark, but you know, hey, we get something. We get a stand to go with this, and the tip inserts at a slight angle, so be careful so you don't snap the tip off of the support arm. Anyway, one thing that I would say is that we should have gotten a clip to go with this stand, so this way we could have had, you know, at least a normal support stand for Nappa, kind of like we did with Broly. So, yeah, that's everything Nappa comes with, just the bare minimum with at least one effect part. Don't get me wrong, that's good, but yeah, we can definitely do better with effect parts from other figures to enhance your display, or if you just want to go ahead and buy your own. So if you have the Spirit Sword from Vegito or an Obitsu effect for an explosion part, the good thing is there are options out there for you. If you need help choosing one of those options, click the card in the top right-hand corner of your screen right now, or tap on it, or whatever you might do, and I think I have a video for you that can help you out. Anyway, in sum, Nappa's accessories are solid, but they probably could have done a little bit more. Hey, and now for your size comparison. Yeah, Nappa's big, but is he as big as he should be? Nah, I think he should be a little bit bigger. He shouldn't be Broly big, no, but he's really negligibly bigger than other figures. Nappa's a big dude, but not as big as he should be. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Nappa looks pretty good with only a couple of issues which may vary because, you know, quality control, and it depends on your level of acceptance for issues. Articulation is fine in most areas, but absolutely not the shoulders. And the accessories are alright, though I definitely think they could have done more, maybe including other scouters, just like Vegeta, how he has the readout on one of his scouters, but hey, we got an effect part, and that's fine by me. About time we get those again. All in all, Nappa's a pretty solid figure. But here's the issue. His MSRP is $75. Broly's, which is a much bigger figure, has comparable detailing and effect parts and accessories, is $68. Yeah, the aftermarket is nuts, so beefing him up to, you know, $120 to $150, but no, MSRP. Now, I get inflation and all that good stuff, but with reused parts for an obvious potential release of an unarmored version of Nappa, is $7 more for a significantly smaller figure really worth it? I gotta say, while the figure is good, he's not $75 good. But then at the same time, it's a web exclusive and prices and no reissues, and people will just buy it regardless because that's just what some people do for these figures. Yeah. It's going to make this figure more expensive in the long run. If you're willing to chance it, I would say wait for a deal. But regardless, at the end of the day, this is a solid product, and he'll go swimmingly with your other Dragon Ball Z figures. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links like the credits for this video and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.